Couple of questions, and you mentioned the waiver, and can you explain that? The stormwater waiver number 26, you said it was for the road?
Well, for projects that were approved, meaning stormwater management and sediment control, if those two issues had been approved by the appropriate agencies prior to, I believe it was May of 2010, maybe it was 12, I'm sorry, then you could apply for a waiver, meaning you did not have to meet the ESD to the MAP, the new stormwater management regulations. This project met that requirement and met that time frame. Many projects have. You probably have or will hear that quite a bit. But like I say, as part of the negotiation with the current stormwater management engineer, we agreed to do ESD on each of the individual lots. So
you might want to explain what that is, ESD.
Well, it's the current stormwater management regulations. We're doing, it's a much more in-depth study for stormwater to control runoff, for infiltration and bioretention, and I mean, it meets the current state regulations.
Got it. Okay.
Okay.
I have a couple of other questions. I don't know if you can answer them. I may have to go to Ms. Daly. There's a talk in this about tier stream order, and I understand the tiers as far as septic goes, what they mean, but the orders for streams I'm not clear on, because I believe there is a tier 2 stream on this property, if I'm not incorrect. So I was just wondering what that, if I can, and I don't know, I don't want to make you guys play musical chairs. But
go ahead.
Hi, I'm Amy Daly with the Department of Planning and Growth Management. I'm a planner. You've got 3 different items that you're dealing with in that statement. You have stream orders, which basically define what type of stream they are and how they're regulated, and then you have the septic tiers 1, 2, 3, and 4. And then what you're talking about specifically with Hunter Springs is that there was a designated tier 2 water in the Hunter Springs subdivision area, which I mentioned in the finding for the habitat protection, how they've expanded the resource protection zone to encompass a little bit more for that tier 2 buffer. And basically tier 2 is a designation by state or federal agencies that it's more of a pristine waterway, and there's that extra buffer or extra protection. And as part of their habitat protection, this applicant has chosen to expand the resource protection zone, which is allowed under our ordinance and basically encouraged and required as a habitat protection measure. They've expanded to the tier 2 buffer, which is normally something regulated at an MDE level, Maryland Department of the Environment level.
And tier 2 is more pristine than tier 3? I'm just not sure which way we're going.
I don't know that there's necessarily a tier 3 designation.
Oh, okay.
But the tier 2 waterway is something that's determined to be of a pristine or high water quality, and they have a goal of protecting those areas. Did you want to add anything, Mr. Watson?
Okay.
No, I mean, that's a pretty good explanation.
Okay, yeah, because there's something, and I didn't mark where. It says that an order of 3 stream has a 100-foot buffer, and an order of 2 has a 50-foot buffer.
Okay. Those orders are about how the stream is made or what comes together to create the stream. And that's how we determine at Charles County what size buffer we apply to it. An order 1 stream and an order 2 stream are the smaller streams. 2 order 1s come together to make an order 2. Then 2 order 2s come together and make an order 3. And there's a hierarchy of streams as they come together and what they create. And your 3s and 4s are your larger stream beds. Your Mattawoman Creek, Potomac River. The largest stream order we have is a 4. So the larger streams in Charles County are 3s and 4s, and they have the minimum 100-foot buffer from the edge of channel. Okay. So some streams have that, and that's how we determine our buffer. So that's a different classification than what MDE would be regulating. Okay. It's kind of a universal way of classifying a stream body.
Okay, I think I have it.
And I can provide more information.
Okay, that would be great.
So
I'm still a little confused, but that's me. I have another question, and again, it may be to Mr. Lessner. In the packets, and actually on sheet 2, there's a letter dated 2005 from the Department of Natural Resources that says, and I'm not going to read the whole thing, it says the Department's Wildlife Heritage Services has no records for federal or state rare, threatened, or endangered plants or animals within the general area of the subject property. It continues to say, this statement should not be interpreted as meaning that no rare, threatened, or endangered species are present. If appropriate habitat is available, certain species would be present without documentation because adequate surveys have not been conducted. So my question is, have adequate surveys been conducted in the last 10 years since this letter was written?
That letter is a blanket format from the Department of Natural Resources to state that they currently don't have documented records of species, but it does not imply a requirement to a project to conduct assessments. There is an inherent requirement that if the applicant were to begin construction and encounter a certain species, that they would have to basically stop work and coordinate with the Department of Natural Resources to protect the habitat. But that letter does not imply any further requirement on behalf of the Department of Natural Resources. So when we require an environmental review under forest conservation law, the letter from the Department of Natural Resources that says we have no records is basically saying, at this time, we have no record and we have no requirement.
And I know it's too late for this project because the road's already cut and the FID's habitat's gone. But if you look at, the DNR's website, the Merlin Online, which has all the different layers, if you look at that, you'll see that this is a green infrastructure hub on the green infrastructure. It's a DNR targeted ecological area. It's a FID's habitat, and it's within 1,000 feet, if I'm doing the little measuring thing right, within a sensitive species project review area. So I guess my question is there any way that the county can trigger a request to do a survey? I mean, if you don't look for it, you're not going to find it. And is that something we should consider?
Under the current codes that we have, I'm not aware of any ability that we have to compel a survey.
Okay.
With that type of comment from the Department of Natural Resources.
Is that something we could do?
Well, what about the forest conservation? Do they do inventory work with the forest conservation plans, or is it just for the trees?
Well, the forest conservation plan was the trigger to require the Department of Natural Resources review. That's a part of their components of requirement to prepare the plan, the environmental review. And so that is incorporated into how we, meaning the county and both the applicant, are looking at the forest areas on site and determining where the preservation should occur. Beyond that, there's no additional assessment requirement for habitat to be compelled or to be required of the applicant.
Okay.
We look at the priority areas, we look at the stream areas, but if the Department of Natural Resources sends a letter of that nature,
It says when we didn't look, and if nobody looks, we're not going to find it.
we have no way of compelling further searching at this time.
That's the questions I have.
Ms. Jones?